Hey guys, we are officially live with the Capital Raising Show. I'm your host, Nate Dodson, along with co-host Jillian Sidoti. So, hey Jillian, how you doing? This is going to be interesting because she's
I'm
in
doing
Puerto
awesome.
Rico.
Thanks for asking.
Sweet. We've got a little bit of a delay, so it's going to actually make it more entertaining just to see Jillian freeze up and then jump. So, but in any case, we've got.
Should have.
It's going to work out wonderfully. I can't wait. But
Yes,
today
it's
we've
going to be
got an
awesome. I'm going to probably
amazing,
sit here and look pretty most of the time.
like a champ. I don't know. At some point, we'll just have to sit back and stare at you. Kind of like we're waiting on you to say something. Okay.
Hello.
Perfect timing. All right, we're here with Jen Maldonado, who is taking selfies of herself because we're here to have a good time, but also here to learn a little bit, chat a little bit, and dive in a little bit more into hotels while we are waiting for people to show up. But just to kind of get things kickstarted, Jen, could you share a little bit about yourself and kind of your background and how you even got into hotels, to be honest, because that's so unique.
Yes, I mean it's it's one of those weird stories where not weird. I think that for me, I started the traditional path, Nate. I was told that to build wealth, to have a good financial future, to have a good life, I needed to have a good career as an engineer, as a doctor, or something like that. I am original from Puerto Rico, so Miss Jillian is there too. So I was
Were y'all
born and raised.
neighbors?
Yes, yes, distant neighbors, maybe in time and different towns too. Quite far apart, probably like 2 hours and a half from where Jillian is located. But yeah, and I went to a school in Puerto Rico and I became an industrial engineer, and I decided to follow the traditional path. And in the process, you start discovering that there are things that you're passionate about, and at that point, you start trying to figure out your own way, your path, and that's where lead me to real estate in 2012. Just
Okay.
trying to figure out what was next for me.
So it's been quite a while. And I'm guessing you had kind of that traditional upbringing where you're supposed to go to college, you're supposed to get a job, you're supposed to contribute to your
Or when
401k, all the
pension
things that
plan.
your parents love for you to do, but you didn't go that way. It doesn't seem like that's got to be difficult having
Yeah.
Puerto Rican parents.
Yes, I mean, if you have ever met a Puerto Rican mama, you know how they are. They keep you on track, and you have to do what they tell you to do. So there was a lot of challenge on that was challenging for me, because when I shared with my parents what I wanted to do, they were not very supportive. So I have to take a leap of faith, and I start investing in Burbank, California, just buying my first rental property. I bought a duplex, live in one, rent the other one. I read the Purple Bible, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and
Yeah.
so I say, Amen, let's do this. Yes, but pretty much that's how I ended. And 2 years into it, I say, I'm done. And I quit my job. Probably the worst idea at the time because I did it without having a plan, without understanding the ins and outs of real estate. And I don't know if I ever told you this story, Jillian and Nate, but I ended with $35 on my account. I pretty much lost everything to the point that I was between, do I go back to a job or do I continue to do real estate? And one of Jillian's clients actually at that time in 2016 presented a project to me. And it was an amazing project that it was like they will have to be 50% wrong in order to lose money. And with $35 on my account, I decided to make a couple of calls from friends in college from engineering, and I shared with them the deal. And I raised in the first week $700,000 to get into that project. So,
Huge.
yeah.
All right. I realize why you know, there's
Wow.
such a connection with you and Jillian and I. Y'all were both raised in Puerto Rico. You both moved to California, and now you're my neighbor from about 2.5 hours between Dallas and Austin. So we're literally just following each other around.
Yes, we're having fun creating little trails for each other. So,
And if anybody didn't know, Jillian used to own Crowdfunding Lawyers, which is now my law firm. And Jen worked with Jillian way long time before I ever even got to know her.
yep. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, Jillian was the person saving me, like, Jillian, I don't know what to do about this. And she's like pretty much telling me, calm down, Jen. I know, but I can't. How do you manage this?
No,
So,
listen. No, you lose your edge when you stop doing that, to be honest.
Yeah.
If you're really being real about it. Like people who stop caring about the law or stop caring about the rules or stop caring about the investors, that's when things start to fall apart, right? Like even if things are going well, when you stop caring, that's when things start falling apart. That's when you know, that time that like one investor will ask for that one thing and you didn't properly paper it, and then you can't find it because it doesn't exist and everything falls apart. So yeah, you don't lose that edge.
I don't think I will ever do, Jillian. I like to sleep in peace, and that's something that I always say my rule of thumb is if I go to bed and I cannot sleep, I am doing the wrong thing. So I better go to bed and I'm ready to pass out. And when I wake up, I'm excited about what I'm about to do. That's always been my rule.
Wait, Jen, that actually leads me to a question. What do you think the number one thing is to make sure you get that? Like if you're talking to a syndicator and you're like, there's just one thing you have to take care of before you go to bed so you can sleep at night. What is that one thing?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say, you know, paperwork, it's handled by the attorneys, but what is not handled by the attorneys is your relationship with the investors and communication with investors, being transparent, not hiding what's happening if you're in a difficult position or when you are doing great. It's always allowed me to go to bed in peace, even when I'm under stress, right? Because maybe things don't go as planned, which that's pretty normal, right? But there are times that the plan it's not looking good, right? And to have the courage and the capability, transparency, and even trust to share that with your investors, right? I think it's always kept me not only on my edge, but always create this relationship of trust where pretty much investors, when I present any deals, they just throw money at that because they know I will do my best and I will always be transparent with them, regardless what's happening.
Right. I mean, it's so true because I just talked to an investor literally right before this call that it's a friend of mine. We're both invested in a deal together, and her biggest complaint, even the deal's not going great, but it's turning a corner, so it's going to be okay. But her biggest complaint is, you know, can I swear on this show? Oh, it's my show. I can swear on it. Yeah. Her biggest complaint is that bitch doesn't communicate. Not me. Another bitch. But like that was basically what she said, and so she's like, and so I have no idea what's going on, and up is down and down is up, and blah 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 blah, and I don't appreciate it, and it's really frustrating. And I thought I was going to have my money back already, and it's like, okay, that she didn't get her money back already, but the fact that there's been no communication about it is absolutely infuriating.
Yeah.
I think Jen said like one word that is just, it resonates so much: trust. And how important that is to raising capital, getting deals done, growing any business, to be honest, is that trust of your investors, the trust of your business partners. Hey, Jillian, I trust you implicitly. Go do crazy stuff because I'm still going to trust you to do the right things.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I love that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, do the right thing. Do the right thing. It was very interesting because yesterday, and it happened often, Nate, where you get a compliment from an investor, and the compliment I got, it's a lady, it's an old lady from Puerto Rico living in California that she invests with me, and we were having the conversation. She's already 85, and she say, Jenniffer, I trust you completely. Tell me where you want me to put the money, and I will just put whatever it is. And it's a compliment, and it's a heavy weight. So these women have a lot of experience investing. She has been investing probably since she was 25, a realtor, did every project you can. But just imagine you knowing that you have the responsibility of these women, that she trusts you. She's like my grandma kind of style. And she started investing with me, and then we became so close. And it's heavy when you hear that conversation, because it reminds you this is people's effort, time, history, years of accumulating and growing something. And what she told me is, I know you will always find the proper thing for me, because I want to make sure that I have money for the future. So when I need someone to take care of me, that money is there. And it's that creation of like, okay, this is amazing. And then I have a moment of nerve wracking, because it's like, where there's power, there's responsibility. That's what I always say. And that's what I see.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so funny you said that, because I had a person once a couple of years ago say to me, if I just give you $500,000, can you invest it for me? And thank God I said no, because I later, and thank God also that I'm a person of, integrity in a lot of ways, because that is a lot of power, a lot of responsibility. And those are also the investors who will come back and say, but you didn't tell me that. So you still need to like absolutely treat that investor as if they're asking you the hardest questions imaginable. Even if they're like, just take it, just take it, just take it. You still need to make sure that you properly paper everything. You keep that paper trail, you keep that communication going.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true, Jillian. Every time someone tells me that, I have one investor that one time wire escrow 400,000 without paperwork. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, oh my God. But what I have done, right? This is the moment that I become that trusted person, because I say, hey, thank you for the trust, but I need to help you right now. This is a no-no. And I take those moments to educate them. And with this lady, I create a paper with a checklist for her to read over the documents so she understands that. And that helps her process the information faster. I know it's beyond what the regular capital raisers do, but this is how I built a relationship with them, right? And I try to organize it. Sometimes I cater to them when I have such a close relationship with someone like her, because I care for her, right? She has become family to me. It started with business. I didn't know her before, but she has become my family. So
since you say you're going, beyond what a normal syndicator would do, like what do you see being kind of the faults in what people have been doing, and is there a better way for them to raise capital, to do more deals?
100%, Nate. I think that there's philosophies on how you raise capital, and I always tell people you have to pick what aligns with you. What doesn't align with me, I am not the salesy person. You're not gonna hear me hoorahing, 10x, pushing, and do all of those things, which is great for other people, right? I don't say there's right or wrong way. It's just you need to find how are you comfortable in your own skin, and raise capital from there. What does that mean to me? The reason why I built such a strong relationship, and pretty much my marketing was referrals, is because I was going to the investor not to sell. I was going to the investor to ask them what do they need. And I became that person as a resource. And I am the first person they think about when they have money, because I brought value to them before asking anything out of them. And that has created such a great relationship that pretty much when I bring a deal to the table, I might bring 10 investors and they bring another 10, right? And I raise my capital in 24 hours, because not only I show them that I really care and I want to make sure this is the right thing for them. They know I'm not going to try to push anything that doesn't align with them. And they also know that I will reject money, to Jillian's point, because integrity is the first thing. If this is something that will put you in a tough spot, I don't want I don't want your money. And I always tell them this is something that you might want to explore because it's a better fit to where you are today financially or professionally or in this moment, right? And I think that that's what I do very different, Nate, than going for the check, which I see a lot of capital raisers. They get very excited. They see someone with money and say, give me the money, write the check, let's go, without really understanding who is their investor. And I think that is the most expensive money you can take. Someone that you don't know, someone that you don't know about them, their financial situation, their business situation, and you don't take that extra 15-hour, maybe a couple of days of conversation to ensure there's alignment and readiness to do their decisions. As a capital raiser, my goal is not to sell anything, is to guide decisions that align with what the investor want.
So we've got a comment question that goes right along with what we're talking about here. That's why I'm jumping out there with it. But it's actually a good question for both Jen, you, and Jillian. So just to kind of ask that, how do you start from the bottom? Like, you don't have a network of accredited investors. You don't even know who you're talking to, but you're starting with that. And Jen, you were kind of sharing that you've got that opportunity and you just picked up the phone and just started dialing. Everybody starts at ground zero. Where would you go from there? And I actually want to hear from both of y'all on that.
Yes. I don't know if Jillian want to start or.
Oh, sure. I mean, like, how do you start from the bottom? Is you just start adding value right away. I mean, it's real simple. Start a blog, start a video, a channel. I had this group of syndicators who were very, very successful in the Phoenix market. And the way they were able to raise capital is they took their potential investors on a journey of the due diligence process. And every time they went to a property, they live streamed the entire process of them going into units and looking through the units and so on and so forth. So I think that's the very, very first thing you want to start doing. Like, and I don't know, lady or gentleman who asked this question, if you're what kind of asset class you're going into, or if you're even doing real estate, maybe you're doing a different company, but let's just say you're doing single family flips. Take your investor on, your potential investors on the process. And so the question becomes, who's my potential investor? Everyone, right? Now, here at Entrepreneur and the Capital Raising Show and Capital on Command, we will tell you that not everybody is your investor. you need to define who your investor is. But when you're first starting out there, you're going to create content for who you think that investor is and what they look like and what's the information they want to know. And you can simply do that by walking through a property, showing them what your process looks like, asking the questions, getting the answers, and show that you're a learning, growing entity in the space, so that is, and guess what? The great thing about doing stuff like that is that people are early investors at that point. They feel like, I've been with these guys since the beginning, and you get them to invest emotion and time, then the next thing you know, they're going to be investing money.
Love it. And I just want to throw out, I mean, your first investors are generally the people that already know, like, and trust you by picking up the phone and just, I call it dialing for dollars. Yeah. Literally, who do you know? Who's in your Rolodex? Who's already in your phone? Because they're the people that are going to invest with you first. You're inevitably going to run out of those people. And that's where you start, just as Jillian was sharing, starting creating the content, creating really more trust information, more authority content to get out to the masses and to continue to grow your network. And Jen, what do you think?
100%. I mean, what you're saying, I look at starting from the bottom, or if you're at the top, it doesn't matter. There's 5 questions that investors will ask when they're looking at you to invest with you. The first one is, can I trust this person? And to your point, Nate, at that point, when you have people in your phone, in general, this is people that are warm leads, right? People that you can reach out, you can have the conversation. You don't have to pitch. I do a little bit of a ninja move, right? I normally call them ahead without having a deal, and I share with them, I am doing research. Can you help me? And I just tell them what I'm thinking, and they tell me how they look at it. And guess what I'm doing? I'm gathering data. I'm figuring out what is that they want. And when I have a deal, I'm going to give it to them, right? It's as simple as that. They're warm leads. They have your trust. Now, if they're cold leads, then you have to prove it to them. And as Jillian said, there's no better way to take them in a journey on how you think, how you look at the project, because that's the second question. Can you prove it to me? Right? How do you do that? So there's no better way to do it. And Jillian, I did this unconsciously when I was starting, where my friends saw me taking a video of the properties. They start asking me, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just checking this property out. I start doing real estate, and they start asking me more questions, right? And then after that, the reason why I like to talk to my friends first, especially if you're starting from the bottom and you don't have insight, is I really want to know what is that they want, because at the end, the third questions for them is, would it really give me what I want or need as an investor? And most capital raisers jump this step. They just go and want to pitch every investor just because they're accredited. And as Jillian said, not everyone is a good fit, right? You have to figure out what they want, what they need. And the easiest way to close a deal and have them wire is when there's alignment, right? And if, I mean, there's other details, but it's so simple. There's no friction. There's no resistance. And if that start creating, then there's other adjustments that you need to do. The fourth question for anybody, what's in it for me? I mean, these people are investing. They want to know how much you're going to pay them. And the fifth one in today's market specifically, right? Do I need it now? Because there's so much uncertainty. In the past, investors were crazy throwing money at everything. More than ever, now they're looking, instead of the upside of a project, the downside, right? How do we protect that risk? But pretty much that will be my very long answer to the person who asked that question.
Well, they actually have a follow-up question, and keep them coming. These are great questions to cover. Wamos, I love your name, Wamos. They're having a tough time even finding their starting deal. They are afraid of too much risk in there. it sounds almost like a lack of confidence in being able to find the deal that's good for investors. We're still just opening the door for those first steps. Jillian, what would you suggest for somebody to do of just how to get started from step one of trying to find a deal? We may have lost her entirely.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Jillian, I don't know if you can hear me or not. But Jen, what do you think? I've got some thoughts as well.
So Nate, you know how I am. I'm all reverse engineer. Oh, there's Jillian. She's back. But let me answer this. I'm all about reverse engineer, right? I prefer to have a excess capital problem before a deal problem.
Mm-hmm.
When I say that is, it might, before they go and try to find flips or business or whatever, I will do my research. If they have enough investor, I will just call the investors and create a product for what they want. As in what they want, give it to them. And then you can go and hunt for that deal with more focus. Not only that, now you have a budget, you have a capability, you have timelines. It's just focus, make you focus on getting that proper deal. And sometimes, if you know good people too, there are people with deals with a capital problem. And if this is a person, I have been, good and bad, finding good partners and not such a good partners. But I have embarked and that have put me in the journey. Of course, that comes with another conversation. But personally, I will ask what they need and create a capital problem. And then I will go and hunt for that deal. It depends which area of real estate they are. There can be 100 ways to find deals,
I'm actually gonna totally push back on you, Jen. And by the way, you're the successful syndicator, so my pushback is you probably win. Let's just put it that way before I push back. But the pushback I'm going to have is that you really you never want to lose control of the deal, right? And oftentimes what I find is when you're telling the investors, tell me what you want, what you really, really want, like they're going to tell you and it's going to be all over the place and you're not going to be able to define it for anybody, right? So we don't want to do that either. So what I would suggest to this person who's asking the question, look, you have to understand what you can do, what you're capable of, what you want to do, where you see your future going. And it's got to be really, especially at first, you've got to be super focused, right? You can't be all over the place. Like, I'm going to do a hard money lender. I'm going to buy notes. I'm going to do single family flips. I had a fund like this once. A guy came to my office. He lived in Washington State and he wanted to do a fund that was going to do hard money lending, buy notes, and flip single family homes in Tennessee. Right. And he lived in Washington. And I said, you're never going to raise money. I straight up said to him before I drafted it, you're never going to raise money for this. And his answer to me was, well, that's what I want to do. And I have all these opportunities. And he's running around in a circle and he could see a bunch of opportunities. And he came back to me 2 months later and said, I'm having a hard time because nobody knows what I'm doing. Right. Nobody understands what I'm doing. So I would say like with that approach, you still have to have some definition. You have to know, what asset class are you doing? What's the size? What is the geographical reference, especially when you're first starting out? And stay in that lane, right? Like just stay in that lane for a little while until the lane doesn't work anymore or you realize you can expand to a different lane, right? Most I use the lane analogy, but if we think about most highway projects, they start off in 2 lanes.
Yeah.
And they don't start off with 5 lanes or 8 lanes. They start off with 2 lanes to handle the traffic that's there, and they expand. And also understand what you're going to do and then understand who your investor is. And then you can start pitching to those investors in that way.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jillian. And I understand that that's a great point. I think that a perspective that you bring is, in my case, I was very focused what I wanted to do, what I was going to raise capital. And I have a very clear picture right? I was able to explain in one sentence the type of project we were bringing to the investor. And yes, I went to the investors and asked them because I never raised capital before. So that was my research. But that's a great point. In order to use what I share, like you have to be focused and have clarity before you jump into doing anything. And second, to your point, you need to know that your capability and competence too. One of the things that it was very important for me, it was that when I partner, I started noticing that a lot of operators were great doing the construction, but everything else was a mess, right? And that's when I'm like, oh my God. And at that point, I step in from the structural person, organize, and this is how we're going to do it. We're going to put systems in order to scale. But to your point, I knew exactly the lane that I was playing. I was being a partner. I was dealing in the financial side, the capital stacked. I was underwriting, and that was my role in the project, sometimes finding the deal, but someone else was running the operations. But I knew my lane. I knew with clarity what I was doing, and I have a very focused thing I was doing before I start expanding into other type of assets. So that's a great advice. Yeah.
I'm going to gently push back on both of y'all because you both said
Hey,
that like started down the right path and then just veered away, because I don't think you can even choose really the right asset class for yourself unless you're already in the business of doing whatever it is.
mm-hmm.
I think it's more about finding that trusted partner that already has the operations, have already been doing the deals, and are looking to expand, where you're not taking on the risk yourself. The comment is about does not require too much financial risk for potential investors. The only way to minimize that potential risk is to work with guys that have shown their own success already anyways. So I almost feel like it's more important to find the who that has the track record, the prior performance, and the trust.
Right.
And then be able to work on the capital side, helping that person with their success, leading to your own success. And then as you build your own confidence as well as your own investor base, then you can pivot those investors to really where you want to put your passion, but you have to start somewhere. And just investing just in your own, hey, this is my first project, I'm just trying to figure this out. I think that's a huge risk in and of itself, that I'd rather go work with the flipper, say, hey, I'm just going to try to raise capital for some hard money loans for you if I want to be in the loan space. Or I will try to raise equity for your flips because it's just not large amounts of capital that you normally need. But finding the who, I think, is even more important than the what to invest into.
Yeah. I mean, Nate, you bring a valid point. I mean, it's how we are. Like, you're in Dallas, I'm in Austin, and Jillian is in Puerto Rico. All of the three of us have a different way or a different starting point. So I think that one thing to summarize to the person who asks is you need to ask yourself, where are you in any of those points, right? Are you experienced? Do you know already to do this? If not, then the start point is exactly what you mentioned, Nate. If in my case, I did have a little bit of experience, so my starting point was very different from what Jillian mentioned. So I think that the first question, for a good question for the person asking that, it's where are you, right, in your journey of whatever it is that they're doing, and from there, then any of this conversation, they can take their own start point, and who knows, there might be other start points that we're not discussing.
I want to use your example, Jen, of the first deal that you raised capital for.
Yeah.
Jillian introduces somebody, you pick up the phone, and all of a sudden you raise $700,000 in a matter of, I'm sure it's a few weeks.
1 week.
1 week. Like, that's amazing. And most people don't have that capability.
Wow.
But I also want to point out is you didn't raise the money for your own deal. You did the same thing of finding somebody else to work with that
Yes.
had the experience, had the trust built through Jillian. to know that you're not just throwing money against the wall and hopefully it sticks.
Yeah, that's correct. At that point, I have done a couple of deals, did well and failed personally with my personal money. And this was a new strategy for me, which it was development, which now I do that too a lot, right? Development is one of my main focuses, but that was a starting point for me for that specific project. But funny story, I raised capital to pay for my real estate education on the event of Rich Dad Poor Dad. So, and that's what I say. Like, I think that at different points you're going to have different requirements, Nate. But I love what you're pointing out. You have to definitely ask where are you? Where are you in your journey?
Thanks. And your journey, actually, I want to get back to, why people are showing up. Your journey led you to hotels.
Yep.
And that's such a unique area that I know Jillian has a bunch of experience in working with people that are doing hotels and resorts. I come from a little different angle of most of these deals that I've had experience with have been like conversions of hotels to apartments. But you're really just working with hotels, I believe. Could you share a little bit of how you actually even got into hotels? Because that's unique. That's different.
Yeah, I mean, I always explain it with the Monopoly story. I think that most people have played Monopoly in their lives. And I will say that my first capital raise was like the bulwark, right? You buy this luxury property, you partner, it gets developed, everything goes through it, and you sell it. But that's really hard to scale. You don't get financial freedom from that. It takes a longer time. And what happened is after I finished that project, I started investing in little projects, fix and flips, learning more, development 1 to 4 units. And I went to an event where they were talking about hotels specifically. And it just reminded me that there was this game that I used to play when I was a little girl. And probably that was the only thing I knew about real estate at the moment, that was called Monopoly. Buy 4 houses, get a hotel. And what it was interesting in the process, Nate, is I was really good. Like, I used to lose all the time with my brothers. And probably some of you can relate. There's this person that you can never beat for some reason and something. And it just drives me nuts. Being in a male environment with my brothers in engineer, I was very competitive. And in that competition, I don't know if have you guys experienced this, you want to like show up because you want to still be part of the tribe. So anyway, going back to that conversation, I heard this person talking about hotels, and I say, hey, that is possible. Maybe I can get into one of those hotels. But before I went all crazy, I spent 1 year studying what makes an asset like hotel fail. What are the common mistakes? And I embarked into this journey of conversations with people to understand the assets, because yes, I knew in concept, get 4 houses, buy 1 hotel, right? But what does that mean? Because I also knew that when you were investing X amount of capital, right, the stack was a higher stack. I mean, we were talking about 7 to 8 figures, and it's a completely different game. So in that journey, in 2019, I decided to got into my first hotel. I didn't want it to be too big for many reasons that we can talk about it. But I got into my first hotel with a partner because it sounds super cool. I wanted to do that project. It wasn't every type of hotel though. I did a lot of study, and I studied the different type of hotels. People don't know this, but you have your luxury, you have your mid, and you have your economic. And inside of those, you have different models. You have the extended stay hotels, which is my favorite. You have the dedicated hotel, right, with teams and all of that. And then you have the boutiques, and they start going into many directions. But I did a lot of study, and then I decided that the extended stay hotel economic model was the play for a conservative investment, because I knew exactly
Mm.
what type of investment I like and what I did not like. And what the extended stay hotel model gave to me, it was a combination of the sweet spot of multifamily with monthly income, because you have your extended stay a week, a month, and all of that. And then the little extra, I have the seasonality that I can play often with to make it more profitable. But pretty much that's how I got in hotel. It was that event that pushed me to study, that lead me to get into a partnership with a franchise owner to get this first hotel.
Can I ask you, like, you went to an event, did you join a group or a mastermind, a mentorship program, or it was just like that piqued your interest and then you started to do your own education?
So I used to run like a women real estate network. I got to meet Jillian there too, for the first time. And as I was expanding that network, it was my own group with a friend of mine too. As we start expanding, we got invited to other clubs. So there was this club that they talk about different aspects of real estate, different topics. And I just show up. I'm like, I'm interested. I'm figuring this out. Let's see what is this about. So I just start picking like different clubs. Now, I did not accelerate my success until got engaged in coaching, mentorship. That's what it made the difference to me. That's what I will say. The club served me to gather information, while the coaching and the mentoring allow me to make a move.
Okay.
Mm.
And then you partnered with somebody, so you still took the approach of you didn't do it all on your own. You worked with somebody that had the experience and the background and the prior performance.
Especially for this type of project. So it's, I will say that hotel is not for the weak of heart. And the reason for that, or why I say that, I mean, when you're buying a hotel, you're not buying only a piece of real estate. You're buying a business, you're buying an operation. And with that being said, you are doing two types of due diligence. You're doing the real estate, which is just a commercial property, pretty standard, right? But
Mhm.
when you buy the hotel, you have to add all the due diligence that it's needed to evaluate the operations, from management, efficiency, and every other detail, including the market demand. So it's a
Mhm.
completely different monster, right? Which I love it because it's a little bit more complex in my alley. Like, I love operations, kind of structuring operations. But I think that that's really important, Nate. And that's why I took that approach. Regardless, I understood real estate, I did not understood as well hotel operations. And that's where my weakness was. I'm like, I need someone who is capable of operating a hotel.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Jillian, what do you think about the story and getting into
The
this?
thing is about, yeah, I mean, I've invested in some hotels and some of them have gone well and others have not gone so well. So hotels are that is a hard asset to get into and to manage. And it takes a special kind of person to really make it work in a way, because you're not just managing, the daily operations, you're also managing your online presence, more importantly than any long-term rental that you could have. So you have you have any kind of hotel and your rating goes down to, you just get that one star rating. Oh my gosh. It's like you got to start all over again. You watch your sales plummet after that. So I have a lot of respect for anybody who can really manage a hotel well to keep those numbers up, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's
So
so
kind
in
of
me. Mhm.
question that I have, and I don't know if you have used like the name brands, the Marriott's, and they really don't own all of their hotels. They kind of franchise out their name as well. Um, do you think that, question for both of y'all, do you think that that would help with that online presence and the one-star reviews just because you have a name brand behind you? Or do you think that it's really just what you can bring to the table anyways.
I do believe, Nate, the brand bring expectations, and when they buy that brand, they're buying that expectation of that hotel. I prefer the independent side, right? As Jillian says, it's still relevant. Doesn't matter if it's a Hilton. If your hotel did not deliver and have bad reviews, that can get you in trouble too with the franchise too, pretty much, if you start having a lot of bad reviews. So you still have to care for those reviews. In the economic level is not as critical until certain point of stars, because even the insurance companies, if your star or your ratings are not the best one, when you start going under the two, the insurance company will not insure your property, right? So for me, I like the brand, right? Because it makes your life easier in regards to, oh, this is what people want already. But also, it comes with expectations. So you have to always be updating and upgrading and going up on improvements. For me, because I have a independent hotel with no franchise, we just have our own thing, we can do improvements and changes to the business model, and we don't have to pay the extra fees. I mean, it get extremely expensive in operations when you have that type of franchise. Are they good? It works for some people love it. Personally, it won't be my first choice.
Okay. But you did, if I'm not mistaken, your first hotels did have not the Marriott, but there was a franchise behind it. Is that correct?
Yeah, there was Quality Inn, Motel 6. We had we also moved Best Western. So all of them, we ended ending that contract, right? Once that it was done, and we didn't put what they called the PIP, the improvement plan. That's what it is. Um, we didn't put all of that money. What we did is we ended the franchise. We were negotiating that first year, but we ended shifting and leaving them because anyway it was expiring, or we have a contract on how much we needed to pay them to just break the contract, because we knew what we were dealing with pretty much. So are they good? As I mentioned, yeah, it worked for some people. It has its pros, right? But what I'm going to say is, if you're going to have an independent franchise or an independent hotel, just know that you have to budget a little bit more for your marketing, and it's going to be a little bit more intensive. Now, it gives you a lot of flexibility. It allows you to get in contracts with the government. It allows you to transform hotels into other type of living, right? As far as you follow the licenses and all of those things. And that's why I went onto that direction.
Got it. So we don't have a ton of time left, but I know that you have another program that you are working with that's helping raise capital. I think it's mainly focused on women, but I may be wrong entirely. But could you share a little bit more about that as well?
Yes, I mean, to your point, I work with women. I have clients, they're guys, and they join. That's no problem, right? They're welcome to. It's just there's certain concepts that we address from the woman's perspective, but our relationship in that aspect, or what we teach, is I prefer to partner when it comes to the lead generation, that first step, with people like Jillian and you, that you guys do the system and have all of that. um, I teach the little tricks that we add to make that whole lead, right, turn. But then our program focuses more in how do you raise capital fast. And when I call it fast, it's the little ninja moves that I just talked to you about, right? When I need the money yesterday to invest, who are my type of investor, right? How do I talk to them? How do I turn that conversation into a trust development and building a relationship rapidly? And how do we pitch a deal that make the psychology of the investor process that information quickly so they can create their own criteria to decide if this project is for them or not. So pretty much we do that in 5 intensive days. So it's an entire system. And I will love, as we talk about, to bring your concepts, because it's the cleanest, best thing I have seen. Right? Simple. This is what you guys do. You implement. But then once that you get that big numbers of leads that they can go through your system, what do you do to turn them into your investors? That's where our program spent a lot of time. How do you pitch that deal? How do you build that trust quickly? And also how you evaluate them to ensure they're your type of investor. Because sometimes they say one thing and it's not that.
So really, it's focused on the warm leads that you've already connected with, and you've alluded to the Capital on Command program. And Jillian, I'm going to sit back and let you explain a little bit more of that, because it's really there to help create the warm leads that Jen's program will actually help you close more capital with.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is we create a automation after we figure out who you're raising capital from, and what you're raising capital for. We go out and target those specific investors that will invest in your deal based on our research and our data and the systems that we've put into place. And then we create the messaging to go out there and talk to those investors digitally. And we create a webinar that will educate your investors and to bring them up that trust curve a lot faster than if you didn't have the webinar. Once you get to that point and the investors are warmed up to say yes, that's where, what Jen's talking about would come in, because a lot of times where the engine fails is when the investor gets on the phone with the principal, because the principal starts stammering and hammering and not knowing what to do and getting nervous and not wanting to ask for the capital. And so to help you build up that confidence, after we will bring you all the investors you need. That's what Capital on Command does. We bring you all the investors that you need, but we can't close them for you. You got to do that yourself. And if you need training on how to do that yourself, you can certainly go to Jen, and she'll talk to you about how to talk to investors. And by the way, that's a very typical problem. It's hard to ask people for money. It really is, especially the first time. It's hard. You don't want to be rejected. You don't want to say the wrong thing. But it's like the saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't get them to drink. And that's what we find a lot of times, is that we'll bring you all the water that horse needs to drink, but if you can't close them, we can't help you.
To go back to what somebody, Wamos has been commenting on, kind of those first steps, you can start building those relationships before you have the project in front of you.
Right.
And
absolutely.
again,
You should be doing it right now.
Creating those warm leads, you do have to know kind of the area that you're going to focus and have a little bit of groundwork laid. But at the same time, if somebody calls you up and says, I need capital in the next 2 weeks, you got to have a Rolodex to reach out to. And that's where getting started, having your authority building webinars, your outreach through social media, all of that helps build your Rolodex so that you can just pick up the phone and start asking for money when it's the appropriate time.
It gets cool, because what happens too, as you build that Rolodex and continue those relationships and building more, there's a time too where investors start calling you, hey, I just got paid for another deal. Do you have any deal for me? And it's pretty cool, because you're like, now I have $500,000 I need to go and allocate. So let me go and get a deal. So yes. Yeah.
That's a good problem to have.
Yep.
So are there any, we have another question. Wow, Wamos is asking, how did you get that contract? I think we're going back to your first hotels where you're working with Best Western and those. Like, how do you get those contracts to actually operate the hotels?
Yes. So, is he talking about that contract or is he talking about the government contract?
I don't even
Because
think you mentioned a government contract. That's even more interesting.
Yes, she did. She did. Yeah, like saying if you have a flag on your hotel, it's easier to get a government contract.
yeah, if you don't have a flag, if you don't, yeah. So the hotel, like pretty much one thing I learned, um, the owners, the biggest owners of hotels in the US are the Patel family. Guess who is one of my partners? A Patel. So you need to understand how the deals move on that industry because yeah, you can just go and get it in with a broker, but you know at that price point, um, it's already at a higher point. Although today's market, there are a lot of them that are going for sale, so I'm waiting for the right location to get the next one. However, most of these hotels, when they sell it to you, come with the flag already. So you have to
Mhm.
either negotiate the cancellation of that contract or wait for expiration, right? Depending what's happening. So pretty much that's what it is. And if you need to talk to them, you just need to call the franchisee contact in the contract because when they sell it to you, you will have that information, Nate.
Mhm.
Makes sense. So Jillian, do you have any, we only have like 3-4 minutes left. Jillian, do you have any final thoughts or?
No, this has been very enlightening. And it just goes to show everybody out there that you can do this. You know, Jen had a very untraditional path. Well, it was a very traditional path, actually, right? She was on a, you know, you got to be an engineer, you got to go to college, you got to go get a job. And she went and said, no, I'm not doing those things. And now look, she's syndicated $100 million in hotel real estate. That's amazing. That's impressive. But Jen, as lovely and as amazing and as awesome as Jen is, she's not a unicorn. You guys can all do this too.
Yes, 100%. And you got to go out there, Jillian, to your point, and be willing to fail because,
Yeah.
yes, I didn't talk about the failure, but I talk about calling my friends and I raised $1 million pretty much I think it took me two weeks and a half. But once I run out of friends and family, I hit the reality that I'm talking to people that they don't know me, they don't trust me. And I got hundreds of no's, insults from people because I did like call the list that you buy. I did every possible thing you're supposed to do. I was willing to fail forward and do it fast. So everyone can go and do raise capital. I will say there's values that you need to live for. I think that that's the only people that might not be able to succeed, right? If you're not willing to follow law, the regulations, and that having that eagerness for doing the right thing, then syndication might not be for you, right? But I think everybody have the capability of raising the capital. It's about the desire, how much you want to do this, who you want to do this for, and then go study and go do well, fail, get those no's from the investor, just learn from it. Learn from what you did wrong. And in fact, that's how I did it. I called one of the investors that told me no, and they told me exactly what I did. And that's how my journey started getting better and better. So
Love it. And Jen, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, I just put up your website, jennmaldonado.com.
without the end.
There's too many N's in there, Nate. There's too many N's.
Well, I guess I got to learn how to spell.
One N.
All right. Does that look better?
Yes, thank you. My dad will appreciate that.
Sounds good. So if anybody wants to get a hold of Jen, go to jennmaldonado.com. There is only one N. Don't spell like I spell. Thank you
Well,
so much for joining today. Really appreciate your time, and to everybody that is been listening in and watching as well.
thank you. Thank you, Nate. Thank you, Jillian.
Thanks, Jillian.
Bye, everyone.